2022 will be remembered for so many things. I think basically from start to finish, there was a news story at least once a month that caught us off guard, that was unexpected and unpredicted. And I think the one that will live with me actually forever is the outbreak of war in Ukraine towards the end of February 2022. I think primarily because that happened overnight. And so I was doing early breakfast on Times Radio at that moment, and I woke up, my alarm went at 3:10, and I had a breaking news alert on my phone that said Vladimir Putin's special operation in Ukraine had begun. And up until that point, we had been kind of preparing for the fact that that might happen, but always suspecting that common sense, I suppose, would prevail and it wouldn't actually come to war. But waking up at 3:10 and saying, oh my goodness, there is a war that we now need to report on, and just adjusting frame of mind, adjusting guests, running orders, programme plans, all of that within the matter of a couple of hours to then report live with reporters and correspondents on the ground in Ukraine as Russia began its bombardment is something that I think I will never ever forget, actually. And the seriousness of that moment on early breakfast, on Times Radio in general, of course we like to have some fun when we can, we like to add some joy when we can. But as history unfolds in that dramatic ascent, you are struck by the gravity of what you're doing and what you're reporting on. And so the outbreak of war in Ukraine will stay with me forever. When you consider 2022, I have one word that I've used so regularly to describe what it's been like, and that is breathless. Just breathlessness, that pace, that energy that has infected every single news story we've done. And perhaps it's odd to use that language, given that this was the year that we probably emerged from the pandemic after the difficulties of the last couple of years. But with every month came something new, whether it was political, whether it was global, whether it was war, whether it was a change of prime minister, whether it was economic chaos and the implications of all of that. Every single month, there was not a moment where you could catch your breath. And I think that made it just exciting, sure, absolutely, in an objective, zoomed out sense. It was exciting. As journalists, this is what we live for. But in reality, the effect of these stories, the impact of these stories that we're reporting, perhaps in a way like no other year, has also been relentless. I often think that politics can feel so far away. Even a change of prime minister can feel actually quite distant from you. If you're not totally engaged, totally into it, it could be something that perhaps is quite surface level. But when you speak to people about the cost of living crisis, that is a real news story that affects you every day. You see it in your bank account when you check your app. You open a new bill and you're horrified, frankly, by how much you've had to pay for heating. You notice how much more it's costing to fill up the car. And so the reality of these stories, I think, has made them feel more personal and therefore more important than perhaps any other year, other than the pandemic years, of course, that I can remember.